Welcome to the End Zone. I'm your host, Deion Imade, and with me is my man, Bill Huddleston. Coach.
Nice to be back on The Zone.
The Zone. We're brought to you by Bravado Wireless. Thank you for tuning in once again, and we're here to talk about what better thing than high school football. Week 0 just took place.
We played football.
We had that news.
Finally,
alert.
I can say we've played football. All spring and summer long, it was, you think we'll play football? You think we'll play football? Well, about middle of July, I was about 50-50 that this thing might happen or might not.
Exactly.
Now I can say it's happening.
Hey, we got 1 week out of the way, so
Absolutely.
let's try and keep up the momentum and going down that trail. So we got week 0, and what? Week 0? It's always funny for me to say. Why do they even call it week 0?
Well, they had to call it something because you couldn't call it a preseason game back when most teams started the first week in September. Mm-hmm. But then there were some special games to be played because teams from Oklahoma went to Texas or vice versa. So instead of having another week of scrimmages, they started having some showcases where they would have maybe a Jinx versus a Texas team and a Union versus a Texas team, or an Arkansas team coming to play Owasso Broken Arrow prior to the season. Well, so they came up with this week 0 deal. Realistically, when it's all said and done, teams play 10 regular season games anyway. Somewhere you have an open date. So we need to have an open date week? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's all, no matter what you call it, the fact of the matter is the season started, it's underway, and we're happy to see it being played.
I'm so happy to see it played. And yes, I was in Oklahoma City at Bishop McGinnis High School, Preble Stadium, where it was 101 degrees right at kickoff. But the bleachers from where I was doing our broadcast from, they had been out in the sun all afternoon long. So I'm just going to tell you, it was a little warmer than a 101 on that aluminum seating.
I bet you it was. Well, we got so much to talk with you about on the End Zone here today. Tune in. Remember, we're brought to you by Bravado Wireless, and we'll be right back to talk about Week 0. Well, we're back. All right, now we got to discuss the show, the game, the one that everybody watched here on Friday on Bravado Wireless. Beggs versus Lincoln Christian at Beggs was an interesting matchup. Looks like Lincoln Christian got the best of them, but still a lot of talented players out there, a lot of great athletes on that field. What do you think about the matchup?
Well, I think obviously the difference in the score surprised a lot of people. I mean, it was expected that Beggs, and they do still have a very explosive offensive unit that will put up a lot of points as this season rolls on, no question about that. But I think it was a matter of which team maybe played the best overall total game, offense and defense. And obviously Lincoln Christian shows that they're still going to be one of those teams to be in the end of season discussions for chasing another state championship. 36-8 win against Beggs is impressive to me. But I think one of the most important performances you saw there that night was the linebacker mentality approach of the quarterback, Chase Hudson.
Yes.
Hudson. I mean, this guy last year was the fullback. And he was the backup to Chase Rickey. Well, now he's the guy. And he made that Lincoln Christian offense purr like a well-tuned engine. Mm-hmm. And they did what they did and did their best. And defensively, I mean, what can you say about Lincoln Christian? They went in knowing that Beggs has the speedsters like Daniels and also C.J. Brown. And the defense of the Bulldogs just corralled C.J. Brown. I think the total number of yards he got was 49 yards on 13 carries.
But the thing that was the difference in that game, in my opinion, was the coaching staff for Lincoln Christian. The fact that they put their quarterback in a situation to win the football game. A lot of misdirections, a lot of stuff rolling him out of the pocket, giving him the ability to, if his read isn't there, run the football, being a former fullback in his situation. That was a lot of success, and you got to give it up to the coaching staff. They did a good job of putting him in the right place to win that football game.
Well, like I said, I think both staffs had a good game plan. It was who carried it out the best on the field. And I think on that given night, week 0, Beggs didn't carry their assignments out, didn't do their job as much as Lincoln Christian did. Lincoln Christian took advantage of every opportunity they had. They didn't give Beggs a lot of opportunities. So I think early on it's a good matchup of two very strong programs. I think you'll see Lincoln Christian definitely chasing 3A gold, but I think you're also going to see Beggs when it's all said and done at the end of the year. They'll rally and come back from this.
They will. And the thing that gives you hope, though, is I think the main reason why they didn't have do a great job of executing their game plan like they wanted to is conditioning was a big factor in this game. Both of those teams were tired, but you could see it on Beggs a little bit more. I mean, I got guys on hands on hips in the first quarter. I mean, when I was playing, when I used to see that, I used to be like, yeah, I love to see that from the opposing team because I know I'm more trained and better equipped to handle this condition than they are. And you could tell Lincoln Christian was just a little bit more far ahead of the game than Beggs was as far as conditioning goes.
Well, obviously I didn't see the game in person, but I can tell you from having, like you, experienced high school football last Friday was an extreme challenge for every high school football player, as well as the coaching staffs, those on the field or those in the booths trying to keep everything in line. It was hot.
Yeah,
I mean, it was the hottest game I think I've ever been a part of in almost 45 plus years of broadcasting. I don't know that I've ever been as hot at a game as I was last Friday night, and I didn't have pads on. I wasn't running around all over the place. But I did notice a lot of kids. I saw the Muskogee and McGinnis game, and give credit to Muskogee's preparations. They didn't have a whole lot of the cramping situations like McGinnis did, especially in the second half, even when McGinnis took the lead. Their starting quarterback and their backup all had some cramping problems. So, I mean, in that game, obviously it played a part, but ultimately Friday night it was Lincoln Christian that did the biggest bark.
Yeah, it certainly was. Chase Huston, Cooper Lancaster, both of those guys were spectacular for Lincoln Christian. And, hey, that team, we thought it might be a little bit of a question mark with them not having a returning quarterback this year, but Chase Huston looks like he's the man for the job.
Well, Coach said in the pregame in the High School Bible, Big Skin Preview.
Yes, it is.
We're still gonna be good. We're still gonna be good. And I think Chase Hudson proved last Friday night that he's got a guy that's not at his best now, but he's going to get a whole lot better. And that's a whole lot better than last Friday night. Look out.
Yeah, and I was still impressed by what he displayed on the field. I mean, I saw why he was the number one player ranked in Vibe magazine because of the fact of the matter, he was a heat-seeking missile out there. He was a little tired. He did look like, going both ways does a lot for you, especially in that heat. But, hey, he was still impressive to watch, and I'm glad Bravado got the opportunity to go check him out.
Well, it was a good opportunity for both teams to have their game on live stream, have it on Bravado, and let all across the state of Oklahoma and around the world, really, see what high school football was about on 0 week in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk to you about some of the hot topics issues here in the state of Oklahoma, mainly games being played or not being played. We'll talk about that when we come back on The End Zone.
Planning a weekend away in your camper? Take your Bravado Wireless home internet with you. Right now, our most popular internet plan has been chopped. While other internet providers are stuck at home with all of those wires and your obnoxious neighbor, Hank. You are free to take your wireless router to your home away from home. Visit us at bravadowireless.com to find a store near you. We are Bravado Wireless, and we believe in the power of connection. Whether your roads are dirt, paved, or if you're blazing new trails, the roads we travel lead to all of our most cherished places and people. Bravado Wireless strives to keep you connected wherever the roads may take you. We are the leader in wireless mobility and connection in Oklahoma and across the nation. We carry some of the market's top cell phone brands, fast, reliable home internet, and even greater customer service. Locally owned and operated right here in eastern Oklahoma. So whatever roads you travel, Bravado Wireless has them covered. From beginning to end. We are Bravado Wireless, and we believe in the power of connection.
Welcome back to The End Zone, provided by Bravado Wireless. I'm your host, Deion Imade. My man Bill is sitting right here with me. How's it going, my man?
week 0 is in the books, but still the questions remain. Who will or who won't play in week number 1?
Yes, it certainly is. I mean, there was a lot of cancellations across the board as far as week 0, and now week 1 coming up, it's a question mark. Are those schools going to play? Are other schools not going to play? What's your opinion on the matter of schools playing or not playing?
Play football. Play football. If you can play football, we need to have everything as close to normal as possible. Now, you obviously have to have your protocols in place. I mean, teams have traveling teams have buses that have the windows down. They maybe have to take an extra bus so that they can space out their players. They have certain specific seating assignments. But if you can play, why not? I mean, if this COVID situation hasn't disrupted your school in its entirety, some schools are going virtual just as a precaution. Mm-hmm. But there's no reason why some of these extracurricular athletics and activities can continue. That's just my personal opinion. I do know, though, that it's going to be, as we go through the season, whether it's the preseason non-district competition or as we get later on to the year, I think the longer it goes, the better the chance that we're going to have a game missed here or there, and then they'll have to go back to those OSSAA guidelines for determining what to do, rescheduling, or how you have to rule who wins or who doesn't. But, I mean, there's already some games that have shuffled for this week that were on the schedule. I mean, Beggs, who last week got their 0 weekend, they've now canceled their game because just this week they've now gone to distance learning and will stay in distance learning through September the 9th. So they've canceled their game this week with Rejoice Christian. Lincoln Christian, who played last Friday, was supposed to play Jones. As a precaution, Lincoln Christian has now moved their game 1 to what was going to be their open week, and they'll play Jones on September the 18th. So there's a couple of adjustments to the schedule. Okmulgee and Webster will not play this week. You had Berry Hill supposed to come to Fort Gibson. Well, Berry Hill had the COVID outbreak. They had to postpone everything for 2 weeks just as in a precautionary status. So now Fort Gibson will play Tecumseh this week. So it's going to change. It's going to change from the time we air our show to the time they kick off or don't kick off on Friday night.
It certainly will. I mean, the thing that I was most impressed by is the precautions that was taken while playing the games, the things that they were doing on the field, in the stands, on the sideline. Just everybody had their mask on for what I could see. The players I thought it was a little unusual, and I kind of caught myself. Remember, you could see this at the Bravado game. People weren't shaking hands after the game. It's a little bit of a tradition.
And that's really kind of some of the things that they've talked about. None of the pre-game or post-game accolades and the high fives and stuff like that. Some schools maybe walk by each other and just kind of glance and say, good game, good game. But there wasn't the handshake, there wasn't the high five, which that's a good situation. Yeah. Don't push anything that you don't have to do. But there were teams, and I saw it on many of the different high school games on Friday night, coaches wearing their mask. And then they would pull it down if they had to really scream
to show their
and
emotion.
Then they put it right back up. But, for the most part, the protocols, I think, by all the schools, whether they were the whole school or the travel school, they did their job. They did exactly what they were supposed to do for everyday learning situations, taking temperatures before they even got on the bus, taking temperatures when they got there. Having everybody having their own individual water bottle. There's not a trainer that comes out there and you pass the bottle around. No, there's a bottle for Bill. There's a bottle for Deion. There's a bottle for everybody out there that's got your name on it. And nobody else touches that.
Yeah, and I was impressed with the people on the field. There were some stadiums, though, that had some problems with, separations in the stands,
sure.
People not wearing their mask in the stands. There were a couple of games that I heard about that they said they were almost having to stop the game to encourage people to say, hey, put your mask back on. So, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you're at these games and if it's a requirement for you to have a mask on, if you're going to be in these stadiums, please follow the rules and so you don't affect the game in the stands.
There's a lot of schools, and McAllister being one of those. Last week, I think everything worked out pretty well there at Hugo Stadium when Broken Bow came to town. Players, coaches, members of the cheer squad, pom squad, band, all got a certain number of tickets to hand out to family members.
Correct.
If you didn't have one of those, you didn't get in, okay? If you came with one of those, you had to have a mask on. Now, once you went in the stand, some of the people obviously going to pull their mask down because it was pretty toasty outside. But if you got up to go to the concession stand, you better have the mask on. Otherwise, you'd get nothing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even be allowed in there. When the folks came from Broken Bow because they had sent tickets there in advance, those folks purchased their tickets, but they also got there with their pass, and then they also had to have a mask or they didn't get into the stadium. And I think that's a pretty good rule for everybody to follow. And most of the schools, quite honestly, Deion, I think have kind of put in place to where they're going to limit the numbers of participation. A lot of schools, some schools allow cheerleaders to get on the sideline.
Yeah.
Some schools put them in the stands. I saw a couple of different games where the bands were in the stand, but you could tell there was, 3 seats where normally 4 people would sit. There was seats in between each and every one, and they kind of, on one row you had 1, 3, 5. On the next row you had 2, 4, 6. Separated them out and tried to do as good a job as you humanly possibly could do. The good thing it is outdoors, though.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, speaking on cancellations or if games are going to be played or not, next week, Bravado Wireless will have Roland versus Valiant. We're hoping right now it's to be, announced. We're waiting to see if that situation is still going to continue. But for right now, that seems like it's going to be the school. We'll see if it still continues. And I'm sure Bravado Wireless will update us as we go along. But when we come back, we'll have a lot more to talk about week 0 and going on to week 1.
Hey there, have you heard? Bravado has deals for days.
You mean like a free smartphone?
Well, yeah.
With unlimited talk, text, and data for just $40 a month?
You're darn tootin'.
Then why the blazes are we talking on these?
Make the switch to Bravado today and fall in love with a brand new free smartphone. See store for details. Find locations at bravadowireless.com/boldmove.
Baby, you're the boldest.
Bravado Wireless. Experience the power of connection.
Welcome back to the End Zone. Well, we got the scores and updates from week 0. We'll go over them just a little bit before we talk about week 1. Which games did you see that you saw the scores that you wanted to talk about here?
Well, obviously, a lot of people were shocked at the margin of victory in the Bixby and Union matchup.
Who you telling?
But I'm going to tell you, I still believe that not only is Bixby number 1 in 6A2, but just like last year, I think they could have competed with any of the schools in 6A1.
Before you go on, I just want to put my name down there on that ballot. I've said this for maybe 3 seasons now. Bixby is one of the best teams in the state, and last year they were the absolute best team in the state.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you. I think that our Owasso Ram fans might argue just a little bit, and possibly even Broken Arrow or Jinx or even last year, even Union. But I think now
they got my Twitter. They can find me. Come on
all right, good. Get after him. But I really think that was a big surprise. I think we saw some good games here, but I also think we also showed that, as I told you earlier, East Side, strong side. Because Owasso was very impressive in their win over Edmond Santa Fe, 48-21. They scored on 5 of their first 8 plays, and it was 35-zip after the opening 12 minutes of play. I think also some of the other games that you saw in 6A1 just proved again that, in my personal opinion, it's still Owasso, Jinx, and Broken Arrow 1, 2, and 3. What Broken Arrow did to Bentonville West on Saturday afternoon
what a showing.
Was really kind of impressive offensively and defensively. I'm telling you, BA is good again.
And they got a running back there.
Horn.
Horn is a beast out of the backfield.
He is.
You know what? That quarterback for BA isn't bad as well.
Well, and Jinx, obviously, with their win over Springdale Harbor, they showed that they've got some cat daddies too, including a linebacker by the name of Tyson Ward, who had a pretty nice performance.
Yeah, he certainly did. Also, can't forget over there on that 6A2 side, Booker T taking it to Southmore 28-10. Very impressive score. Booker T, got a lot of athletes over there.
They do, and I think, again, we're seeing the dominance of East Side over the West Side. whether it's 6A1 or 6A2. It's still going to come from the east side of the state unless there is another major COVID outbreak.
Yeah.
Booker T was 14-10 at halftime, ended up 28-10. Midwest City came from behind to beat Westmore 27-20, and now Westmore is going to go into their Moore War for the first time in, I think, a decade with a losing record at 0-1. The game I got to see was the Muskogee Bishop McGinnis game. I mean, Muskogee played without three of their top players. They didn't have Ty Williams. They did not have Darian Davis, a linebacker, who will be out for the season. And then in the game, late first quarter, they lost linebacker Caleb Webb. That put a lot of responsibility on some number twos that now are the next man up, okay? And so they had to make something happen there. But Luke Turman was also a very effective performer for the Irish at quarterback. Muskogee led at 13-12 at halftime. Muskogee found him a jet, though, in Raheem Payne. This guy's got some quick, and he'll get up and down the field in a hurry if they just get the ball to him. But Bishop McGinnis won that game 20-13. And then in the matchup that went on for the 76th straight year, think about that. That's since 1944.
Wow.
This matchup between Sand Springs and Sapulpa has gone on. Sand Springs with a new head coach, Bobby Klink, who was the defensive coordinator at Owasso on the championship squad last year, takes over the realm there for the Sandites. They beat Sapulpa 21-17. The series is almost dead even. 38 wins for Sapulpa, now 36 for the Sandites. That's bedlam.
Hey, I've been a part of some bedlams.
I know you have.
I know it. So that sounds like a pretty heated rivalry. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, who gets the best of these couple of games next?
We'll find out.
Well, I mean, going on to Class 5A, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, you saw Broken Bow taking a loss to McAllister. That was unfortunate for them, but still a lot of ball to be played.
Well, I think Forrest Macy's ball club is going to get better as the season goes along, too. They were good enough Friday night to, as Coach Macy says, eat. They won the game, 21-13. I do think, though, one of the powerhouses of 5A again this season will be Bishop Kelly. The Comets going in as the number 2 team behind Carl Albert. But Bishop Kelly showed their muscle. They beat Poto, last year's 4A state champion, 28-7. Another matchup of a first-year head coach against a veteran program. Jason Sexton took over at Shawnee this season. His ball club lost to the Guthrie Blue Jays 34-16. And then El Reno had a 4A matchup with Cash that went back and forth all the way to the end, but the Indians came out on top 42-35.
One of the few close ball games that I feel like I saw on the schedule.
Well, there were some dandies, and there was a overtime game that lasted 4 hours between Lone Grove and Purcell, and it ended up going 42-41. Lone Grove won it, but the only difference was Purcell failed to convert a 2-point conversion at the 11 o'clock hour. Okay,
That's a heartbreaker.
It is a heartbreaker. And then, of course, you get down to 4A. You had Roland, who's now competing in 2A, playing a Thursday night ball game. That's a tradition program. Battle between those two schools that are separated by about 5 miles and 2 stoplights. And Roland won that game 6-0. You also had Tuttle proving to be a Title Town, as they call it.
Title Town.
All right.
Rich tradition over there in Tuttle.
Tigers won that game 28-7 against Sulphur. Sulphur had a few problems with conditioning too, but I know Jim Dixon, who's been around for 45 plus years as the head coach at Sulphur, he'll fix that. Yeah. Because I promise you, they're running sprints, they're doing extra conditioning this week. He won't stand for cramping up again like it was last week.
And then Jones and Bethany went all over there and faced off. Jones getting the better of Bethany 31-7. Hopefully those Bethany, they can battle back and get into these games. And then, Stingler and Salisaw also played.
That surprised a lot of people, the fact that Stigler, not that they won the game, but how they completely shut down Salasaw's offensive unit. And trust me, with Bruce Engle at linebacker and some of those other guys that they've got at Stigler, it's going to be tough for any team, 3A or 4A, to handle Stigler each and every Friday night. But mark my words, Salisaw will get better as the year goes on.
Speaking of 3A, some of the 3A scores that we get to take a part of, the one we just talked about, Lincoln Christian going over there and facing Beggs, beating them 36-8, pretty impressive. Now Dixon versus Hugo, what'd you think about that matchup?
Well, Hugo's got some athletes, and given the opportunity to turn short outs into touchdowns, Hugo has speed, and they've also got size. So they're going to be a handful for a lot of different people. And it was just too much Buffaloes. It was Dixon couldn't roller skate in that Buffalo herd.
Hey, man, sometimes it's a little too much for you. Going down to 2A now. I mean, Washington beating Pawnee 35-14. Nice win for Washington.
Warriors there are, again, another team that has a lot of tradition-rich success, not just in football, but all their athletics. And they, again, have some very talented players there. Should be exciting to see how those teams carry out throughout the year. But the Black Bears, they won't run and hide, though. They're not going to go into hibernation. They're going to be ready to come play.
Yeah, they will. And a lot of teams will get ready to come play. And, guys, if you didn't hear your score, don't be mad at us, okay? You tell your coaches, you tell your fan base, everybody tweet at us, bravadowireless.com, share your scores, and we'll be able to announce it here on TV. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about high school football before we get out of here. This is The End Zone.
Bravado Wireless is committed to doing our part in the COVID-19 safety measures. Our customers have the ability to pay online, over the phone, as well as payment drop boxes. If you have any questions regarding these payment options, contact your local store and our CSRs will be happy to help you navigate this process as we all do our part during this time of crisis.
Planning a weekend away in your camper? Take your Bravado Wireless home internet with you. Right now, our most popular internet plan has been chopped. While other internet providers are stuck at home with all of those wires and your obnoxious neighbor, Hank, you are free to take your wireless router to your home away from home. Visit us at bravadowireless.com to find a store near you. We are Bravado Wireless, and we believe in the power of connection.
Welcome back to The End Zone. Well, we've gone over week 0. Now it's time to talk about a little bit of week 1 with the games that we have on schedule.
My dad growing up went to all my activities, and as I would look at from basketball, look across the floor and see him, and he would sit there with his fingers crossed. Well, for me right now, my fingers are crossed that we get to keep playing football and that as many teams as possible can play, that they're not interrupted by this COVID stuff.
Well, if that's the case, then everybody gets your fingers crossed. Well, the top games that we have next week, though, for 6A, Union, Broken Arrow, one of those big-time rivalries over there on the east side. Very, very, very much looking forward to this game.
Well, it's a series that's heavily dominated by Union, but of late, Broken Arrow has shown that they've got the muscle, and with what I saw from this past week, I still think it'll be a nail-biter. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any shape, fashion, but I think Broken Arrow will beat Union.
Well, I think I'm going to be on the opposite side of that thing. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think Union... I don't think Union bounces back. I think BA rolls through Union.
Okay, all right.
Pretty aggressively.
We'll find out now. The preseason choice to be kind of the powerhouse of the West Side, Edmond Santa Fe, and they got a dose of East Side football last week.
Yeah.
And they're going to get a semi-dose of it this week because you say Stillwater East? No, they're kind of in the middle of the state. Well, they're on the east side as far as the district assignments are concerned. And the Pioneers have got Quantrell Walker. They've got a whole lot more than that. They'll play Edmond Santa Fe on Friday night. It's the Pioneers season opener. Even though Santa Fe has one game under the belt, I'm still going blue and gold, and I'm picking Stillwater.
Well, hopefully that defense gets their Wheaties because they're going to need a lot of it to stop Quantrell Walker.
That is exactly right.
Next game, Jinx versus Bixby. This one is turning into a little bit of a rivalry over there. I've went to a lot of Bixby Jinx games, and they get up when they see the Trojans coming their way.
Well, if Jinx doesn't get fired up for this one, they won't get fired up for anything else the rest of the year because they remembered last year, 57-7. That still is, it's almost cause for vomit if you're a Jinx Trojan. And I know that Keith Riggs Ball Club still will remember that. I also know, too, that Bixby showed that they're just as strong again this year. Braylon Presley had 4 touchdown receptions plus 185 yards rushing. But Jinx, like I said, they've been in the state finals for 6A1 the last 2 years, and we know about their tradition-rich past. They've got a senior linebacker by the name of Tyson Ward who had, amongst his 13 tackles, he also had a 15-yard interception return for 6 points, so a pick 6 there. This one will be a good game. This one will be a slugfest. It's at Lee Snyder Stadium. It's in Spartan country.
Yeah.
Man, I got to weigh this one a toss-up. I mean, I know both sides very, very well. Very close with both coaches. Several of the several people there. This one's a toss-up, but if you're going to stick truth serum in my veins, I'm going to tell you Bixby wins.
You know what? I don't. As much as I don't like to agree with you, I can't argue with that one. I think Bixby goes ahead and takes care of the Trojans as well.
Well, we'll find out, but I don't think it'll be anything like 57-7.
Nah, not this year. Not this year. Going to 6A2 now. It seems like our guys Choctaw will be facing Springdale, Arkansas this week, so should be an interesting matchup in that case.
Again, you've got a couple of cross-state games involving 6A2 squads. Choctaw taking on Springdale, Arkansas. Muskogee going to Bentonville West. I still think Choctaw is one of those teams that could chase Bixby at season's end, provided they stay healthy.
Yes.
I still think it's Bixby above everybody else in 6A2, but I'm going to take Choctaw to win this cross-state rival.
Yeah. This is the game I have my eye on, though. Dale City versus Booker T. Washington. Nothing but athletes on the field on that matchup. It's going to be a fun one to watch.
It is going to be a fun one. Dale City is a 5A squad that is now playing in 6A2. Booker T. Washington also a 5A team in some other sports, but they're playing in 6A2 division. And you said it. It's going to be Athletic U when these two teams meet. I know Booker T has a game under their belt at 1-0, and Dale City, this is their home. This is their first game of the year. But I'm going to fly high with the Eagles.
Why? You know what? I'm leaning towards, Dale City too, but just because you said that, and Booker T has a game under their belt, so they probably are a little bit better conditioned than Dale City will be, I think I might go with the Hornets.
And we'll find out come this Friday night.
We certainly will. Bishop Kelly is going to go play Sand Spring. That should be a fun one as well. And then moving down to 5A, Midwest City goes over to Carl Albert, and they'll face off Carl Albert's first game of the season.
That's one of those matchups, Deion, though, that anything and everything can happen because you're talking about backyard fits. I mean, we've all heard about the backyard bowl of Tulsa with Jinx and Union. Well, this is kind of the backyard bowl of the Midwest City school district because you've got Dale City, you've got Midwest City, and you have Carl Albert. Carl Albert's a football kingpin right now, and they're going to take on the Bombers, who came from behind and won last week, but they can't get behind against Carl Albert because they'll never get the ball back.
Yeah,
and I want to pick the Titans.
I'm telling you right now, I saw that Midwest City team play. They look impressive. The quarterback, D'Angelo, is very, very crafty, and when he gets out of the pocket, he's quick, lightning quick. And that defense for Midwest City, the Bombers, not nothing to play with.
Well, no, but I'm going to say this. 4-time state champions, and a lot of those players from last year coming back for Carl Albert this year. You got to take my gold ball away from me, and the only way you're going to do it is beat me. And I don't think that's going to happen Friday when Midwest City takes on the Titans.
We'll see. We'll definitely see. Next on the schedule, Ulaga versus Collinsville is going to be a very interesting as well.
It is. I think Collinsville has to be the prohibitive favorite there. I mean, they're one of the ranked teams in Class 5A. Ulaga's a 4A squad that has been battling a few health and injury situations too, and I just think the Cardinals have too much.
Yeah. These next couple of ones is Blanchard versus Noble. Then we got Coweta versus Wagner and El Reno versus Piedmont, excuse me. So as far as those three games, any one of them that stand out to you?
Yeah. Highway 51 battle. Wagner County bragging rights. Coweta at Wagner. I mean, it's the 63rd meeting between the two schools, with Wagner having 35 wins to only 25 losses and 1 tie. Both teams are 0-0 on the season. Coweta, with Tim Harper in his second season, he's got some playmakers. Gage Hammett, quarterback, is one of those guys. But as I said earlier in our preseason preview, the team to beat in Class 4A, hands down above everybody, is Wagner.
Them dogs.
Them dogs are going to bark loud on offense. They're going to bark loud on defense, and they're going to mark their territory against the Coweta Tigers.
Watch out for those fire hydrants. Going to Class 4A, Tuttle is going to be playing Plainview. Bethany is going to play OKC Marshall. Weatherford and Kingfisher are going to go down. Which one of these three matchups stands out to you that you want to talk about?
Well, Ethan Downs and the Weatherford Eagles take on Kingfisher and the Yellow Jackets. Kingfisher's got a game under the belt, but with Ethan Downs and the power of the Weatherford Eagles, I'm picking that game to be all Weatherford.
Yeah, I'm riding with you. Going down to Class 3A, Millwood versus Heritage Hall, Spurry versus Verdigris, excuse me, and Adair versus Stigler.
2 games there. Heritage Hall, they'll win it. Okay, I mean they could play in several different classifications. They just happen to play in 3A. There's a reason why they're the number one team in the state with their talent level. They'll win this week against 2A Millwood. The other game I think though that could be really interesting to see is who will have the best performance. Will it be the explosive offense of Adair, who last week in their game beat Jay 46-7? They were 11-2 last year. Stigler shut out Sallisaw. Ridge McCleary at running back. Darren Manus at quarterback, giving the Panthers a little bit of offensive firepower to go with that muscled-up defense. This is going to be a back-and-forth type ball game. I don't look for a lot of scoring, though. So whoever has the strongest defense, and right now on paper, I got to pick the Stigler Panthers to pick up the victory and move to 2-0.
I'm not arguing with you. Class 2A is the next on our schedule. And before we get out of here, we got to talk a little bit about them. Eufaula versus Vian, and then Valiant versus Roland. As far as the two games that we just talked about right there, which one of those?
Well, Valiant and Roland is kind of the bravado game of the week that's on the schedule. But the matchup that I like is Eufaula at Vian. Ironheads it's their season opener. They've got the 1-2 tandem of Noah Alexander, who last year had 2,800 yards rushing and is already a preseason commit to Army. They've got a very strong linebacker by the name of Ty Pippinger. But Vian, who was state finalist last year in Class 2A, returns the Arkansas commit in Solomon Wright, who had 124 tackles. Javen Wright, cousin, not a brother, quarterback, defensive back combo. Last year, 26 touchdowns combined, running or passing. And then they've also got the 1,000-yard rusher, 100-yard tackle machine of Zaven Lackey. Malachi, I mean, it's just too much purple and gold. And it's at Vian.
Yeah, man.
So, Eufaula, you better bring your best game. It should be a dandy of a contest, but right now I'd have to pick Vian to win it.
Hey, there's Vian with those Wright cousins and brothers. They don't mess around.
Well, it's a tradition-rich program that knows football, and they will pack the place as much as they'll allow to come inside with the social distancing requirements.
Exactly.
But there'll be a good number of fans from both schools there and cheering for their respective squads.
Yeah. Well, we just talked about week one and the games that you should be looking forward to. When we come back, me and Bill will talk about some of the topics that are on the top of our minds right now. But until then, we'll see you right here on The End Zone.
Hi, we're Bravado Wireless. You may have seen us at your local events and wondered just exactly what we do. We provide the highest quality cell phone service, specializing in outstanding coverage, both locally and nationwide. We're headquartered right here in Oklahoma, with multiple store locations in eastern Oklahoma. We provide the most affordable, unlimited talk, text, and data plans available. Make sure you stop in now and enjoy our other amazing summer deals before they end. Visit Bravado Wireless store locations for all other details, or go to bravadowireless.com for more information. We are Bravado Wireless, and we believe in the power of connection.
From nationwide coverage to live high school sports to the great outdoors and so much more, we've got something for you. We're a local wireless carrier right here in Oklahoma. We work for your town, in your town. But great cell phone signal in rural areas is just scratching the surface. We also broadcast live events from all over eastern Oklahoma. High school football, basketball, baseball, dirt track races, livestock shows, and community events. Everything to keep you connected in your community. We're also producing original shows like Connect Outdoors and Cooking Wild that shines a light on real Oklahoman experiences. You can find us at bravadowireless.com, or you can search for us on Facebook or YouTube. You can even find us on the Oklahoma Sports Network. You can download their app straight to your phone, Apple TV, Smart TV, or Roku. We don't just create for Oklahoma, we are Oklahoma. We're Bravado Wireless, Oklahoma's service provider. Welcome back to The End Zone, our last segment of the show. We wanted to talk a couple of things before we get out of here, and one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about was media and how things are being handled in this day and age of football. I mean, how should schools handle their media rights? I mean,
whatever's best for them.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it is whatever group and organization you have. I mean, should there be exclusive rights for your individual school? If that's what works best for the athletic department, especially in this year where COVID will no doubt affect the ability to pack the place. Live streaming is going to be a very, very important deal. But to have the opportunity for your school to use that as a way to showcase your talent and also put it out there for high school athletes to get a few extra looks recruiting-wise is a very, very good situation there. Should they be giving up their rights? Only if it benefits the school, only if it benefits the high school. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about that. You've got NFHS, you've also got Bravado, you've got individual schools doing their own broadcasting rights. You've also got other entities that give you that. And, it's just whatever works best for your school and realistically how you can enhance the awareness of your athletic programs.
And here's the thing. I think I disagree and agree with you at the same time. I don't think you should do what's best for your school. I think you should do what's best for the athletes. The whole point, in my opinion, of being on TV is being able to showcase the abilities of your athletes so they can be looked upon and get recognized for their achievements and what they do. And it helps them get notarized by, upper level recruiting and aspects like that. So you should put your kids on the biggest platform that there are. If somebody comes knocking like a Bravado and they have reach where they can show your games to people in different countries, not only just different states, you got to say, yes, come in and show our kids off. If they got a TV network that shows your games in your city, put them on there. The biggest, the better. The bigger, the better.
You asked me earlier tonight, should we play regardless of COVID or not, distance learning or not? And I said yes. I agree with you, the fact the better exposure you can make for your student athletes and for your school system, kind of all in one combined group, I think that's a great situation. I think it also, like I know in the situation of Muskogee has its own broadcast system. They're able to do their own games, but they also provide that rebroadcasting or that live broadcasting through a partnership with Bravado. So you can put two pieces together and have half the pie instead of just one slice, so to speak.
That's the thing. If you have the capabilities to do so, don't limit yourself. If you can have your own stream and then show your games on TV, with the way I look at this, it's not college. It's not the NCAA. This is not a business. This high school, public school, it's for the kids.
Right.
It's for them to, motivate them for school. It gives them a reason to do your grades so you can be eligible to play. It gives them a better opportunity at life with opportunities to get into college, get some scholarships. There's so many things that football and other sports allow the kids to improve on their life. So it's about the kids. It's not about making money for the school.
There's
so
a reason why this little device I got in my hand goes off all the time, 24 hours a day. And it's social media.
Yes.
Whether that's Twitter, whether that's Facebook, whether that's Snapchat or Instagram, whether that's kids taking clips after replaying a game and putting their own little highlight reel together and putting it out there. I mean, that's what this is all about. So the better exposure you've got for your schools and your teams and your athletes, the better. It kind of leads right into our next subject, though,
Very much so.
is how has or will COVID impact recruiting this year? It already has. I mean, when things shut down last March, that meant there was no spring football. So that impacted the game. But it also impacted recruiting because during that time period, as you know, Deion, college coaches make visits to respective schools. NCAA said, hands off, no way you can do that.
Yeah.
Division I or Division II, FBS or Division III. You were restricted from making those in-person contact, and the kids neither could come to your campus too. So it made the social media contact extremely important, and it has had a definite impact. It's also had an impact on camps during the summertime, kids going to individual camps or team camps.
I know a lot of kids that are going to be seniors this year that missed out on the opportunity to go to camps and get their face and seen by college coaches. That's going to be a big detriment to them and being able to play at the next level. Hopefully something comes up where coaches realize that situation, they take advantage and they see more games of players and they watch more tape of players, but because a lot of kids missed out on opportunities to get looked by coaches.
And that's continuing on into the fall right now because you still don't have that ability to bring kids on campus. And so therefore makes the live streaming and the broadcasting of these games even more important, because now college coaches, if they're interested in one of your players, if I'm interested in you and your game's being live streamed, I can go on and look at it either live or rebroadcast in archive status and see it, and I can go on there and say, man, that cat was really good.
Because both of us know highlight tapes are highlight tapes. It's your best moments of the year, and you send it to the coach. Well, you can see the athlete he is, but you can't really see what he looks like on a game-to-game basis.
You see the good plays, you don't see the uh-ohs.
Exactly. And live streaming has that ability. I know firsthand experience of kids from last year and the year before that college coaches, going on Bravado Wireless itself and finding their games and watching them and be like, hey, that kid's a good player, and gets an offer just because of that. Schools have to remember that. It's about the kids and putting yourself in a situation where your kids can be seen. It's very important.
Well, I do broadcast every Friday night from Muskogee on their live stream, and last Friday was no exception. I got a text from a college coach that said he was watching the game, and where was so-and-so? And I had to text him back and say, oops, he was out due to injury. So, I mean, they're looking. Trust me, they are looking, and COVID has had its impact, but it's not going to stop it, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, the game changes and evolves, and so does everything around it, and you just going to have to adapt and to survive and keep it pushing forward, and hopefully they do just that.
And hopefully we stay healthy.
Exactly.
And can get the games in.
Hopefully they do that with Bravado Wireless. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today on The End Zone, brought to you, presented by Bravado Wireless. My name is Deion Imade. This is my man, Bill Huddleston, and we thank you so much for joining us this evening. We'll catch you next week on The End Zone.